one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. All right, we're going to jump into, mainly this is going to be a meeting of just citizens' comments. The only item on this agenda is going to be the tax rate. So I have two people that want to address the budget, and I'm going to try to limit all citizen comments to 3 minutes, and we'll go from there. First person on the list for the budget, which is not on the agenda, is Ron Smith. Yep.
Open to public. Citizen
No.
comments.
Oh, this is.
This is citizen comments that are not on the public hearing.
No, I wanted to be on the agenda, I don't want.
Oh, you wrote down budget.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. Kevin, are you here for tax rate or are you here for budget?
I want to talk about the budget.
Come on, come on.
Appreciate it.
Kevin Sullivan, 3933 Outpost Trace. Mr. Mayor and Council, I want to really reinforce the same point I made last week about the golf budget, maybe add one additional point. I firmly believe that we need to challenge them. We did it last year, and they were successful. They were more than successful. They beat what we set them out to do. And I think if you leave it at the 435 that's in the proposed budget, you're not going to be challenging them one bit. All they have to do is the same thing they did this year, and they don't have to improve one lick. What you're saying is that a $435,000 loss is acceptable, and I don't believe any of y'all think that it is. Right. The different point that I wanted to make this week regards why I think it's important that we do that. There's been the proposal, I think there was the report that came out of the Golf Advisory Board, the semi-annual report, talked about replacing the greens, $2 million to do that kind of thing. Whether it's $2 million or 1.5 or 1.4, it's a lot of money. And in my opinion, there's only a few ways that we can actually pay for that. One would be to bond it out. I think it's gonna be very difficult to do that. I think you guys are already debt averse, and it's not very likely to happen. Another way to do it would be to pay for it out of operational funds. I think if you do that before you do that for roads, you're gonna get shot and strung up and that kind of thing. So that's not very likely either. So the only way that I think you're really gonna get there is to have the golf course become self-sustaining, and that it pays for those types of things out of its own pocket. And the only way you're going to get there is to slowly and methodically chip away at the loss that's there. And so I think if you leave it at 435 this year, you're saying we're never going to get there. But if you drop to 400 and keep dropping in subsequent years, the golf course will get to the point where it's self-sustaining and can pay for its own capital improvements. That's all I got. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay. All right. That's any other topics other than tax rate by anyone? Yes, sir. Come on up. Please state your name and your address. And
My name is Jim Guy. I live at 20904 South Ridge,
Okay.
Lago Vista.
welcome.
Thank you. We were told today that the budget was also on the agenda for tonight, that the tax rate and the agenda were kind of an equivalence. Isn't that right? Josh, didn't Josh tell us that today by email?
Well, Mayor, I didn't tell Mr. Guy that. I did tell Miss Guy in an email today that you got the citizen comments. You can definitely make any comments. You got the same amount of time to provide any comments. So I think the budget's always open discussion.
Okay, my understanding, what you told Mr. Smith was that the budget was not part of the formal agenda tonight.
It's not a topic. The only item on the agenda is the public hearing for the tax rate, for the second public hearing. But you can make any comments you want to make on the budget.
But not the hearing for the budget.
No.
I understood from last week's meeting, according to Mr. Ray, that it was mandatory to have a budget meeting today. You look at the transcript of last week. He said you must have a budget meeting next week. Those are his words.
So the mandatory, Mayor, if you might, the mandatory is the tax rate has to have the 2 hearings.
Okay.
And then we have 2 public hearings for the budget. We've actually had 5 public hearings on the budget, and we'll have more opportunity next week. This meeting, mandatory on the calendar set by the great state of Texas, is for the second hearing of that tax rate.
May I inquire why last week you specifically said budget was on the agenda for tonight?
It's still going to be on the budget. It's just going to be on the agenda. It's just not listed as the public hearing is not public hearing for the budget. It's the tax rate for the FY20 budget.
It's a little bit confusing to citizens like me.
I agree. I'm not
Sorry.
disagreeing with you, and I
Sorry for
Agree
the
with the same.
confusion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ron, I'm gonna save you for last, man. Let's get Miss Jane Brunswick.
she's on the public hearing.
Is this
Oh,
part of
excuse
the
me.
public?
First, let me do this real quick.
Bang!
Bang, bang, bang. Lago Vista City Council will hold the second of two public hearings to receive citizen comments on the proposed tax rate of 65 cents per hundred valuation for the 2019-2020 budget for the city of Lago Vista and take necessary action.
Okay,
That's-
Jane Brunswick, 21815
That
Tallahassee.
time is 6:37. 6:37.
Okay,
Public hearing is open.
we're basing our current budget on 65 cents per 100,000. I might have made a mistake on a post I made this afternoon in that I might have overstated the percentage of our budget, that tax rate devolves to. I have a question. I assume you all know that the state cap is 8% year over year for the budget to go up. And the tax rate is tied into that. I'd like to know what percentage our budget is at 65 cents per hundred. What percentage, where are we with the state tax cap of 8%? And briefly, I'd like to know how you figured it. If by chance it is over, and I was told last year it was over, it was 9%, and our mayor told me that. Now, it's my understanding that if people object, you have to have a vote. So I'm saying right now to state if it goes over 8%, I do state my opposition, and I would call for a vote in November on our total budget and our tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you. You got that? Okay. Joanne?
Does anyone want to answer my question?
Well, we will have
Maybe
someone-
our city manager can answer it. Where are we percentage-wise?
I can definitely answer it, but if it's a public hearing,
Okay,
We're going through
well,
this.
we can answer the question, in other public hearings, we can ask a question and ask for an answer. So,
Can you give us a short and sweet answer to that?
yes, sir. We don't compute the amount of the increase every year. The Travis County computes that for us, so you don't have to worry about the city of Lago Vista doing the computation. We submit our numbers, they do the computation, they use the formula. We actually publish that truth and taxation form. We've sent it out, we've got that, and that's what we talked about 2 meetings ago. If you look at the percentages from last year and percentages this year, it's on both forms. If I had that in front of me, I don't know if Star knows the number right offhand, but I can pull it up and post it out, and you can look at that
are we
truth and
under
taxation form.
8% is what I'm asking?
We would be right at it. And so to answer your other question is, if the city chooses to use a tax rate that is over that rollback, then the citizens have the ability to do a petition. 10% of the registered voters sign the petition, valid registered voters sign it, then that calls for a item to be placed on the ballot. So not one person, but if roughly 600 people sign it, then that puts it on the ballot, verified.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne?
And Mayor, last comment, Councilor Robbins has the truth and taxation form with him here, so we can make copies for that at the end of the meeting if anybody wants it.
Joanne?
My name is Joanne Smith, 20609 Oak Ridge. Be real brief here. I am opposed to the rate as it is set forth and would like for the council to discuss rolling it back for some tax relief. It's my opinion the rate stays the same each year because more growth of new residents have come to Lago Vista, which equals more cash for the city bank account. So I feel the growth is bringing in more money than we really, not that we don't need it, but we don't need to be having higher tax rates, and we sure could use some relief. Thank you.
And the last person on the list is Ron Smith.
Okay, Ron Smith, 20609 Oak Ridge. Don't worry about the slides, okay? I spoke to you last week about reducing the tax rate from 65 cents to 61 cents. I was going to show you some slick slides tonight, but I've decided against doing that. I didn't want to bore you with it. The one thing I would like to point out, and it's been a problem I've had for years, probably decades. Right now, the current budget and the current tax rate supports a golf course spend of $435,000, another $125,000, which is a debt payment on the Lago Vista Golf Course, which puts us around the $560,000 spend mark for golf. Right now, the 12 roads that I see in the budget right now add up to about $479,000, something like that. The bottom line is just those two numbers sends the message to the citizens that golf is more important than the roads. Now, some of y'all up there ran last time, 2 years ago, on roads. Well, right now it appears it's golf, and roads can take a second position to that. I really think you need to go back and take a look at that budget and see what you can do to push down that golf spending and see what you can do to increase the roads. That's what the citizens have asked for. They've asked for it constantly now for almost 2 years, and we're really not giving it the attention it deserves. Maybe this council going forward may want to consider planning out a road bond package for next year and bringing it to the citizens through ballot and seeing if they can support it through a bond referendum. Right now, the citizens of Lago Vista, at least since 2005, have never, ever voted for anything in the city of Lago Vista. The last thing that was voted on was the city swimming pool back in 2004. Everything else has been done by the council. I was a part of it for a piece of it. But I think it's time that we put together a serious package for roads and what we're going to do to make them better. And I understand the patchwork's going on right now, and I understand part of the reasons for it. But I think we need to take a long-term look at these roads and put together a plan in place and see what it's going to cost and see what adjustments need to be made to support the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Richard Brown. I live at 4059 Outpost Trace. I've lived in Lago Vista for nearly 15 years. I have never heard anyone, potentially outside of an MGA meeting, say that we need to spend more money on the golf course and less money on roads. I've never, ever heard it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No one else? Got all these nice people in the audience? No one wants to speak, huh?
Can I just ask a question?
You can come up here and speak.
So if tonight is not the public meeting for the budget, when do we get to do that?
You could.
Before it's voted
you could
in.
Speak on the budget right now if that's what you, well, I have to close the public hearing first. Is anyone else wanted to address the tax rate? Okay. I closed this public hearing on the tax rate at 6:46. And now we have someone else that would like to speak on the budget.
So there's
Please
just
give your name and your
Christina
address.
Lucero, 2308 American Drive. So there are currently we have a website, we have a radio, we have a text line. We're talking about getting an app widget. And all of these are costing money, but something that happened last Friday was some citizens had no water. No city was open to call and talk to. Nothing was put on the website, nothing was put on the radio, but yet we're adding an app and a widget.
There was a
And,
press release on the water.
but it extended the time, the 3-hour window that it was supposed to happen. So that's just one of the things. Information's not getting to the people, and yet we're about to spend more money on something else that might not get information to people. We are about to possibly do a short-term rental app, and $18,000 for the first year, 15, then 15 each year. And what are we doing currently about the landlords who have their houses here, who have tenants leave all of their stuff on their driveways? And what are we doing with that? What are we doing with the bulk trash problem and the dumping problem and landlords not being responsible for that, tenants not being responsible for that, city not being responsible for that? We're spending all this money on collecting more money through short-term rentals, but what about what's currently going on? I was just at the Lago Vista golf course earlier, and our tennis courts look really awesome there. The fences look really awesome. Considering there was a flood this year, everything looked really nice. I don't think that we really need to spend 82 grand on tennis courts. I think there's money that we could spend in other places. $75,000 on new city signage.
Just a budget item.
I know, but that's what we're here for.
Okay.
So, really, whenever you're coming over the Lago Vista hill, coming into Lago Vista, coming from the hollows, the sign to Tessera is the one that you see, the little rounders-looking Vegas sign. And so $75,000 on a new sign when really the Tessera sign's the one that we see. The waste and the trash back to the landlords and the tenants. Right now, we're collecting $100,000 more than we're spending. So we have $100,000 surplus in there that we could get we could get dumpsters. We could solve the bulk trash. We could get more pickups, more than just twice a year. So there's things that we could do, but we're just collecting money and making people deal with it. $50,000 on a break room. That was something kind of crazy too. That is the PW break room, $50,000. $20,000 for the city hall parking lot to be redone when there's all these roads that could be redone that get way more traffic. And the 2021, there's $3 million into the golf course that operates at a loss every single year.
Thank you.
$855,000.
I'll have someone get back to you on that.
Greens,
Okay.
irrigation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mrs. Letha, 20904 Southridge. I kind of want to dovetail with what Christina Lucero just said. On page 30 of the budget, the city signage, which was discussed at one of the hearings that I attended, we talked about wayfinding signs, and I'm not against the idea of signs, but it was bounced around where that money would come from. And that day, it was sort of, we agreed upon, or you all agreed upon, that money would come from the hotel fund, but in the current budget, it's shown that money is coming out of the general funds. Is there not a way to get this out of the hotel fund? Also, art and public spaces, I'm not against it. It's just more money spent on things. In the budget, on page 31, it talks about that money will come from the hotel or general fund. And since it's beautifying, adding art to our space, why can't that money come out of the hotel fund? Because as you all told me in the last meeting, that we had over $400,000 in the hotel fund. So I'm all for spending the hotel fund and leaving general money for other things. And again, with what Christina said, this trash thing, that I know you all aren't on social media so much, but that generated a lot of pictures and people were upset. And I approached Ed at the last meeting. What do those roll-off dumpsters cost? Currently, the city is collecting in trash fees about 800,000 and something. It actually, the cost is about 700,000, so you do have that 100,000 that Christina referenced. We have trash off twice a year. Could that money be used to sponsor more trash offs and more roll-offs? And I think you even mentioned that, Arch, at one of the meetings that I attended with Ed. Can we get more roll-offs and get them there? Now, there's still going to be some people that are going to go and leave their houses, rental houses, whatever, and leave it there. But I think a lot of people, if they had a way to get rid of it, they would. They don't really want to leave it there, but they have no other option. And somebody with a business acumen get a pickup truck and a trailer and say, first Saturday of the month for $25, I'll come by your house and pick up your trash. I bet a lot of people would sign on for that, and we'd get rid of this junk that's all along Thunderbird. And it kind of astounded me because that trash on Thunderbird was there for weeks. And when I brought attention to it, oh, well, thank you for letting us know. None of you all saw that trash on Thunderbird, that it was there for 2 to 3 weeks?
Awesome.
So, anyway,
Thank
just
you.
my thoughts.
Thank you. Anyone else? Future meeting. The next city council meeting will be on September 19th, and that's where all the council members will discuss the budget again and make a determination on the budget. So look forward to you attending those meetings. That meeting on the 19th at 6:30. And anything else that I need to address by council? I adjourn this meeting at 7:53. 6:53. I know, that's why we're, yes, I was.